Beşinci Uzakrota Turizm Zirvesi'ne hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Biraz ayakta olanlar var. Orada gevezelik yapacağım. Bugün salon moderatörü benim. Sunucu olarak yapacağım. Bayağı da bir ışık çarpıyormuş burada insana. Beşincisi dedim, ilkini hatırlıyorum. Çok küçük bir mekanda, çok az katılımcıyla yapılmıştı. Bugün stand alanını sanırım herkes görmüştür. Bayağı bir katılım var. İyi de bir katılım var. Çok güzel markalar var. Dolayısıyla düzenleyen ekipten, başta Gökhan olmak üzere hepsine teşekkürlerimizi, şükranlarımızı sunmak istiyorum. Bir alkışla yapabilirsek, hem de salonu ısıtabilirsek çok iyi olur. Bugün çok değerli konuşmacılar olacak bu salonda. Yani biz sponsor olduğumuz için değil. Kendimi de tanıtmam gerekirse Nerede Kalkon Pazarlama Müdürüyüm. Çağdaş Polat ben. Herhangi bir sorunuz olursa aralarda yardımcı olmaya çalışırım. Çok değerli sunumlar olacak. Dean olacak başta Clicktripz'ten. Biz de çalışma fırsatı bulduk ve oldukça fayda elde ettik. Sonra çok kuvvetli katılımcıları olan bir moderasyonumuz olacak. Ve bugün içinde devam eden çok değerli konuşmacılarımız olacak. Kontiki'den, Kontiki Holidays'ten Raj olacak. Onu da dinlemenizi tavsiye ediyorum. Öğleden sonra da Wirecard gibi Türkiye'ye çok ciddi ödeme altyapısı sağlayan çok büyük şirketlerin kullandığı ödeme şirketi genel müdür ve CEO'su Dündar Bey burada olacak. Biraz böyle herkes oturduğuna göre yavaştan başlayabiliriz diye düşünüyorum. Lütfen sorusu olan varsa aktarsın, interaktif bir şey olsun. Hani salondaki konuşmacılarımız konuşup dinlemekten öte gerçekten bilgilenmek için burada olabilirsek faydalı olur diye düşünüyorum. İlk konuğumuz Clicktripz'ten Dean Hunt olacak. İyi, kötü, çirkin ve kişiye özel online reklamlarla The Good, The Bad and The Ugly, The Tailor-Made Online Ads by Clicktripz. Welcome, Dean. Applause.
Please. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
No, don't stop. I need that. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. It's my first attempt at Photoshop. I think I nailed it. It's very good. So this is the good, the bad, and the ugly of tailor-made content and ads. So I'll be sharing a few stories, a few tips, some of them bad, some of them quite ugly, and hopefully some good tips and examples as well for you. Can everyone hear me okay? You can understand? I'll try and talk very slowly, but I've had 3 cups of coffee, so I apologize in advance. So, slideshow mode. It's okay, we get to watch my, my great Photoshop skills for a little bit longer. I only actually had 25 minutes of content for 30 minutes, so this is actually perfect. There we go, thank you. All right, so, weird question to start a presentation with, but I'm gonna do it anyway, why not? Has anyone ever heard of or is familiar, raise your hands if you've ever heard of this brand in the US, it's called Target. Okay, so I assumed nobody, which is why I included a photograph here. This is a store in the US called Target. It's an enormous store, there's hundreds of Target stores in the US. It's my wife's favorite store. We go for one item and come out with 200. And about 7 years ago, a father called the manager of the Target store, and the father was furious. And he told the manager, he said, my 16-year-old daughter just received a booklet of coupons and discounts from Target, and every single item in this booklet is aimed at pregnancy and being a mother. So it's baby lotions, diapers, baby food, etc. The father screamed at the manager and said, my daughter is 16 years old, she's not pregnant, she doesn't even have a boyfriend. How could you do something like this? The manager of Target, of course, apologized, and I think 3 days later, the father called the manager one more time, and this time the father was not loud and aggressive and angry, he was actually quite shy, quite apologetic. The father said, it seems I owe you an apology. Some things have been happening in my home without my knowledge. My daughter is pregnant. She's due to give birth to a baby boy next August. Now, Target knew this because they were analyzing patterns in purchase data. So Target can not only tell, based on your buying habits and changes within that data, that someone is pregnant. They know often before their own parents. They also can determine by what is bought the likely due date of the baby and even the gender, which is kind of crazy. So that was a pretty ugly outcome for Target. This was about 7 years ago. Companies have learned a lot more since from this lesson. For example, the Target spokesman said that these are types of patterns that they look for in the data. So switching to like an unscented lotion, buying supplements like calcium, magnesium, and zinc, when they see this in the purchasing habits, that's the sort of thing that tells them that maybe this person is pregnant. Maybe an example that went quite bad that more of you will be familiar with was the example with Orbitz in 2012. Did anyone remember this Orbitz issue with the charging Mac users 30% more for hotels? Anyone? I don't know if that came to Turkey. What happened is the website Orbitz, the travel site, they realized that users that used a Mac computer instead of a PC, on average, spend 30% more on their hotels. So they have a little bit more money in 2012. They like better hotels. So Orbitz knew this, and so when you went to Orbitz in 2012 on a Mac, they would show you the better hotels at the top of the results, which kind of makes sense. Unfortunately, a lot of the journalists, a lot of people on social media didn't quite understand this. They thought that Orbitz were charging 30% more for the exact same hotel, which is what got reported, which is not true. That's not what was happening. People said it was illegal and an invasion of privacy and all this craziness. Luckily, the travel industry reported it correctly. This was View from the Wing, a travel site. Why Orbitz charges Mac users more for hotels and why that's a good thing. So luckily, the travel industry saved the day and reported this accurately. Now, that's kind of an ugly and a pretty bad outcome to data and tailor-made ads, tailor-made content, segmented, personalized outcomes. The outcome and the execution of those two examples was not very good. I think we'll all agree. But I actually personally believe that Target and Orbitz were on the right track, even if the execution was quite poor. I mean, if you know that a user wants a better hotel, why would you make that user dig through 3, 4, 5 pages of search results to find what they're looking for? So I think they were on the right track. The execution wasn't great, and hopefully today I'll share some tips on how we can do this a little bit better. So I'll be talking, when I say tailor-made, I mean things like segmenting your audience, finding relevant, tailored, contextual content and advertisements. If any of you have any ads or comparisons, or you send out newsletters or do email marketing, hopefully there'll be some tips in here for you today. I think these things are extremely useful to the end user if done correctly. And my friends, as we enter 2019, I think that being generic and showing the same results, the same advertisements, the same emails to all of your audience is a huge, huge mistake. I think in 2012, this was a nice bonus to tailor-made and segment. I think in 2019, it's going to be essential. Sending the same ad to every single user, sometimes millions of users, the exact same ad, makes no sense in 2019. And that's not just my opinion. Luckily, I've got a little bit of science, a little bit of study here to back this up. So studies have shown that 71% of shoppers prefer tailored, custom, segmented advertisements. So users actually like it when you don't show them the exact same ad. 67% of shoppers like product recommendations and comparisons when visiting e-commerce sites. So if you're selling tickets, flights, hotels, whatever it may be, showing every user the same thing is going to be a bad experience. In terms of engagement, users are almost twice as likely to click through to an ad featuring an unknown brand if the ad was tailored to them. So for those of you interested in engagement, you can almost double your engagement just by tailoring the ad to your end user. If you don't have the knowledge or the technology to do that, I can share with you some tips and some opportunities for you a little later on. And finally, 93% of companies see an uplift in conversion rates from tailoring content to a target audience based on their behavior or demographic. So the studies are quite, I know studies are kind of boring, even as I was reading them, I was getting bored myself, but the studies show users do not want the same generic content. If you have 500,000 users every month that visit your site, you cannot show all of them the same results. And we see this with email. I believe that email is a good window into what happens on the site. So how you respond to emails, I think, is a good indicator of how you're likely to respond on the website. And so email open rates are 14.31% higher in segmented campaigns than in non-segmented campaigns. So if you have 100,000 people on a newsletter or an email promotional list and you send everyone the same email, that's going to be a problem in 2019. So, my generic millennial ad. So generic, for me, generic means kind of the opposite of segmented. Generic is kind of the enemy of personalization. Generic is the enemy of tailor-made. Generic in 2019 is not going to be stood for by the modern user. And to prove this to you, I kind of want to do a little bit of an experiment. I believe that not only is generic a bad thing for your users, I think that users are starting to see generic as spam. So it's going to become a really bad thing. And to prove this to you, raise your hands if you've ever received an email that starts, "Dear Sir or Madam." Has anyone received an email like this? How did you feel when you received that email? "Dear Sir or Madam, we can fix your business problems." I mean, really? The first thing I do, I've probably received 1,000 emails that start "Dear Sir or Madam" in my 15 years in the industry. That's how many times it's actually been a useful email. I immediately put it in the spam folder. If you don't know my gender, what chance do you have of solving my specific company problems? It doesn't take that long to do a little 10 seconds of research. So when people see this, when they see "Dear Sir or Madam," that tells them you've done no research, this is not personal, this is not tailor-made to me, this is just generic, therefore it is spam. I believe that every time an email is sent that says "Dear Sir or Madam," somewhere a little baby unicorn dies. So please stop doing that. If anyone on your team is sending out emails, "Dear Sir or Madam," please stop it and help save the baby unicorns. That's not true, actually, of course, but trying to use guilt to persuade you here. Another one of my favorites is "Dear Website Owner," or "Dear Business Owner," or "Dear Marketing Manager," or "Dear CEO." Has anyone received an email that starts like that? Instead of your name, it's "Dear Website Owner," "Dear Business Owner." Again, same principles. If you don't know my name, you have clearly not done the research, and you're obviously not going to be able to help me in my business with my problems. So hopefully, 2019, we can get rid of the generic email introductions. And I use this, it's not really a talk about marketing techniques or subject lines and things like that, but the fact that when you see an email that is so generic, like how you feel is almost angry, disappointed. Users are going to be the same way on your website. If you show them a banner that says "flight sale," and they click it and it's a generic landing page and they have to fill it all in, that's not segmented, it's not personalized. So users are going to start feeling the same responses. So to combat this, I was going to the World Travel Market, WTM, in London last month, and there was maybe 7 or 8 people that I wanted to have meetings with, people like Raj over there who will be speaking next, who's great. And I knew that the worst thing I could do was send a generic email. So I did the exact opposite. And I created this. It was a little 20-second video. It basically just said, "Hey, Raj, hey, Alistair, my name is Dean. I'm going to World Travel Market. I would love to meet with you." But to make sure that they knew that this was a very specific, personal, tailored email that was for them, because they'd never heard of me before. They didn't know who's this Dean Hunt from Clicktripz. I have no idea. I wanted to make sure that they knew it was personal. So I bought a whiteboard, as you can see there. I wrote the name of the person that says, "Hi Raj, hi Alistair," etc. I got a little neon sign in the background that said WTM with flashing lights, not very subtle, and I recorded a quick 20-second video. Then I took a 5-second GIF of the intro of the video, put that into the email, which showed me holding their name on a whiteboard. So when they opened their email that had their name in the subject line, the first thing they saw was someone that badly needed a haircut, holding up a whiteboard, saying their name, smiling, talking. Clearly it was a very personal video. And my response rate was almost 10 times what I would have got if I'd said just a general email to that person. So generic is the enemy, and we can combat it through segmenting, through looking at demographics, from tailor-making and personalizing your content, your ads, your emails, every part of your business. So that's all very nice, but I would like to share kind of a framework and an exercise that I would recommend that you take back with you from this amazing event. Speak with your teams and share this with them, and hopefully it can transform your business. So I call it the 5 W's. I don't know what it is in Turkish, I apologize. But it's the 5 W's: who, what, where, why, and where, and when. So you would go through each department of your business, so your content, your ads, your emails, and then you would ask, who's this going to? Can we change this by who we're sending it to? What should we show them based on what we know about that user? Where should we send it? How should we customize it based on the destination, etc.? And I'll share with you some examples that we do at Clicktripz to kind of emphasize this. But as I go through these examples, just imagine your own business, your own department, your own role, and try and apply these to your own business. So we'll start off with what. So this is one of Clicktripz's main products. It's what we call an exit unit. So we partner with many sites, including some travel sites here in Turkey. And when the user does a search on our partner site, sometimes in the background or as an extra tab, we load something that looks a little bit like this. It's called an exit unit because the user sees it when they exit our partner sites. And the what here is that we're customizing it based on what device the user is on. So in this example, this is kind of what it looks like if the user's on a desktop, like a laptop or a PC. We'll make sure that it is kind of an obvious one, kind of a simple one. I'm sure you all have responsive websites, etc., and mobile apps, etc. But a very simple way to get into personalizing and tailor-making your products and your ads is changing it by the device. This is kind of an example of what it looks like if you're on the same website on your phone. So we know that the what is the phone, so we should show them our mobile product instead of our desktop product. Again, pretty simple, but go through this exercise in your business and see how you can use it. I'm kind of cheating here. This is my opportunity to give you 30 seconds about Clicktripz by using the who. So who are Clicktripz? Well, some of you may be familiar with us, but if not, these are some of our partners. So Hotelze, big partner of ours. I think Bertan will be here later this afternoon. Lastminute.com, we have major media and news sites like The Telegraph, which gets about 65 million visitors every single month. It's a big newspaper in the UK. Hotel.com from Met Global, been a partner for about 3 years. Gala Hotels, Leonardo Travel, another company based here in Istanbul that are doing great things. Late Rooms, Photos Travel, etc., etc. In total, we have over 140 travel partners. I didn't want to spend 25 minutes of showing slides of logos. That would not be fun for you or me, but you get the idea. So in terms of scale, Clicktripz are ingesting around 15 terabytes of data every single month. We launch over 150 million tailored custom travel searches every month, and I'll share some examples of that in a minute. We've been doing this since 2010 with many of the biggest travel companies on the planet, and as I said, more than 140, I think it's about 148 now, major travel sites, media sites, weather sites, etc., railways, are using our technology. So enough about Clicktripz. Another who that we can use is we don't just show, so if we have a partner with like 1 million visitors per month, we don't want to show our solution to all 1 million of those users. That would be, as much as I like our product, that would be a bad idea. So we look at the data, we measure conversion rates, things like that, and we can actually segment the audience, meaning maybe we only show our solution to 10% of all the users. So if we think that if a user goes to Gala Hotels and we think that user is highly likely to buy a hotel, we don't want to show them our solution. That's going to disrupt their experience. So a question to ask is, in your business, if you're sending out an email to 100,000 people or you've got a promotional campaign with an airline, whatever it would be, ask yourself, do I need to send this to every single person here, or can we segment, can we personalize, can we look at the demographics and tailor this a little more? When and where, very important. How we use this in Clicktripz, there's many different ways, but our solution will automatically detect what the user types in. So on Hotelzy, if they type in, I want to go for a hotel in Istanbul in the middle of January, we automatically can read what the user has searched for, and then when we provide our solution with Hotels Combined or Expedia or whatever the advertisers would be, we automatically show hotels for those exact same dates in that exact same destination. So we know the where, we know the when. When I first started in the travel industry, we would just send people to a generic sale page, hey, 20% off on Virgin Atlantic, and the user would have to do all the work. That's not going to work in 2019. So that's our what and our when and our where. Another where is language detection. So again, I think we've got some headsets here for doing translations, so it's a good example of this. We automatically detect the language based on IP address and based on browser language settings, and we automatically show all our content and our partners or our advertisers' content in that language. So that is good for the user, which means it's good for our partners, which means it's good for Clicktripz. So again, ask yourself, go through this checklist, look at your own business. It's going to be different to Clicktripz, but go to your business and look, where can I adjust based on things like language, location, device, etc. And just because you have the power or the technology or the knowledge to be able to tailor-make your content or your ads or your emails does not mean that you should, as we saw with the Target example a little earlier. Always ask yourself, why am I doing this? Everything should come back from the goal. So you set your goal and you say, how can tailor-making this content or these ads or this email, how can it help me achieve this goal? If it can't, don't do it just for the sake of doing it. We see that mistake a lot. So for our 148 partners, the why for them is frankly quite simple. We guarantee zero negative impact on the business, meaning we don't prevent bookings on site, and we can prove and guarantee that. And our CPMs that we pay our partners, because we pay every single time this solution loads, are typically between 25 and a whopping 500% higher than industry averages. So I would love to come here and say that the why for our Clicktripz partners is more than just a very useful comparison tool for their users. That's great. But ultimately, we pay them a heck of a lot of money for using this technology as well. So it's pretty cool. Keeps me very busy. This is the third time I've been to Istanbul in the last 6 months. I was joking with Raj that I need to open an office here. It might save me some money. But I really love this city. And I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it's my terrible jokes that help. But I've traveled many places around the world. I've never found a more hospitable place than Istanbul. Every meeting I go into is just so personal, and they really care. And we don't always see that in the US or in the UK or other places. So it means a lot for me to be back here in Istanbul. It's truly one of my favorite places. And next year, I hope to bring my wife and be a tourist, yet another tourist in the city. So ask yourself the why. However, on that point, balance is key. Balance is key. We saw the Target example and the Orbitz example that were kind of a little bit ugly in their execution and their outcome. And I believe the thing that they got wrong was balance. Orbitz decided to show Mac users more expensive hotels to every single Mac user on their site. That's a lot of different people with a lot of different names, a lot of different incomes, a lot of different preferences. So balance is key. Just because you have access to this sort of technology through companies like Clicktripz or internally, doesn't mean you should do it every single time. Balance is always key. Target sent a coupon book of discounts, and I think there was 15 items in the book, and 15 of them were about pregnancy. Now what Target do is they sprinkle in maybe one or two, here's some baby lotion, here's some baby food, and here's a video game and towels and just random other things as well. So balance is always, always key. So to summarize, I'm aware I talk very quickly, so I've gone very fast through this. But to summarize, in 2019, my friends, being generic will not be tolerated by your users. 5 years ago, this was a bit of a luxury. It was a bit of a Wild West, which is why I used the kind of the cowboy image. Now companies are really figuring it out. Clicktripz have an entire team of data scientists. We have a machine learning department. We have ex-engineers from places like Google, Goldman Sachs, TripAdvisor, etc. People are figuring this stuff out. And as the users get more used to it, it's going to go from a nice luxury to an absolute essential part of your business. As a reminder, if you write nothing else down, the 5 W's exercise is something to pass on to your teams, your business development teams, your graphic design teams, your product teams, especially user experience teams. Go through that exercise and ask yourself, how can I modify the end result? How can I tailor make this? How can I personalize it? How can I segment it based on each of those 5 W's? Balance and key. Balance and execution are key, which is kind of ironic as I talk about balance as I'm hanging off the stage here. Balance and execution are key. Just because you figure out this technology or have access to it doesn't mean you should blast this to every single one of your users. I think on average, Clicktripz shows the comparison units to around 15, 16% of the users on a website. Nobody can see the Clicktripz solution more than 2 times in a 24-hour period. That's a maximum. Nobody can see the Clicktripz solution more than 1 time in a 30-minute session. That's a maximum. Now, our partners in Clicktripz would make a lot more money, a lot more revenue if we removed those restrictions, but that would not be great for the user. So balance is always key. We always at Clicktripz like to put user experience before dollars or lira. And final note here to wrap up, as you learned from the very first slide, please don't hire me to do any Photoshop work. That was my first attempt. It was pretty terrible. But I thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, or if you would like to contact me, learn a little bit more about this, or I can tell you actually a good Photoshop designer to work with, feel free to email me. It's dean@clicktripz.com, Dean Hunt on LinkedIn, Dean Hunt on Twitter, etc., etc. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing what you do in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and we have a present for you.